Today, I'm going to show you exactly what rights a 14th Amendment citizen of the United States actually has and which ones they don't have. First off, what is a 14th Amendment citizen? It's any person born or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, a citizen of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Let's take a look. This is the 14th Amendment. We're going to look at the whole of Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. We've probably covered that many times. You may have read it yourself. Let's go to the next part. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. This is the interesting part. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. So, what are their privileges and what are their immunities? If you're not a 14th Amendment citizen, if you're a national or a state citizen, this doesn't apply to you. But if you are a citizen of the United States, hear me out, because persons is not what you think it means here. Persons does not mean natural person. It's a legal entity created by and under the laws of a government. That's from Black's Law Dictionary. I'm not going to go deep into that, but let's get into the incorporation doctrine. The incorporation doctrine is a constitutional doctrine through which parts of the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, are made applicable to the states. The incorporation doctrine is what makes parts of the Bill of Rights applicable to the states through the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Go back to that due process clause. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. There are other unconstitutional feeling parts of the 14th Amendment too, by the way, like the validity of the public debt of the United States, authorized by law, shall not be questioned. What happened to freedom of speech? Well, 14th Amendment citizens don't fully have freedom of speech. You kind of do now, but at the time this was written, you didn't, and you still can't question the public debt. Now let's get into which rights are incorporated and which aren't. Incorporation applies both substantively and procedurally. Prior to the 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court found the Bill of Rights applied only to the federal government and federal court cases. During the signing of the Constitution, every state had different concerns about a too powerful federal government, and the preamble to the Bill of Rights highlights the importance of limiting overreach by the newly created government. The Supreme Court noted the Bill of Rights were clearly intended to limit only the federal government. States could choose to adopt similar protections, but were under no obligation to. Many states did honor the Bill of Rights in their own original constitutions, even without being required to. But after the 14th Amendment and the incorporation doctrine, everything changed. Now you have different types of citizens. Instead of just being a citizen of a state, you're now a citizen of the federal government. The federal government itself became incorporated in 1871, and today it's a federal corporation under 28 U.S. Code Section 3002. Now, the Bill of Rights is being incorporated into the states, or the state ofs, which are subsidiary corporations of the federal government. They're all federal, which means there is no state rights. That's part of why the 10th Amendment doesn't functionally exist. The states still exist on paper, but as 14th Amendment corporate constructs, they and their citizens fall under this federal framework. After the 14th Amendment passed, the Supreme Court, through a string of cases, found the due process clause included applying parts of the Bill of Rights to the states, called incorporation. There was a lot of contention over whether the 14th Amendment should incorporate any substantive rights at all, with opinions from justices ranging from complete incorporation to none. Rather than finding that due process incorporates the whole Bill of Rights, the Supreme Court went with selective incorporation, incorporating certain parts of certain amendments rather than an entire amendment at once. So what they did was decide piece by piece, this part helps with due process, so we'll apply it to the states. That tells you how much power the federal government and the Supreme Court really have. Some argue the privileges and immunities clause is a more appropriate textual basis than the due process clause for incorporating the Bill of Rights, but because of the Slaughterhouse Cases, that clause is surrounded by controversy, and this theory isn't supported by the majority of the court. Quick summary of the Slaughterhouse Cases. People were told they couldn't slaughter their own animals on their own property and had to pay someone else to do it, a violation of the 13th Amendment. The 14th Amendment came up a lot in that case, too. The court discussed how, if you're a citizen of the United States, you don't really have many of these rights, but a citizen of a state has all their rights fully secured and protected by the Constitution. All their natural rights are protected. Natural rights, not civil rights. Civil rights are what US citizens get. A state citizen or a national has natural rights protected by the Constitution. The case also touched on involuntary servitude, being forced to pay for a service you don't want, like car registration. Forcing you to register your car is arguably a 13th Amendment violation. Involuntary servitude, that's illegal, and yet it happens all the time. As a note, the Ninth and 10th Amendments have not been incorporated, and it's unlikely they ever will be. Here's why. The Ninth Amendment, very short. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. The state doesn't want to give US citizens this much power, and that one sentence is a tremendous amount of power. You can retain any right not specifically talked about or mentioned in the Constitution if you say, "This is my right," as long as it's not hurting anyone, causing damage, or creating a victim. It is your right. The Ninth Amendment is extremely powerful, and most people have no idea what it is. Everybody should know the Ninth Amendment. Now, the 10th Amendment, which more people are somewhat familiar with, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Again, states' rights and the people's rights. Now, back to the incorporation doctrine. The Ninth and 10th Amendments have not been incorporated, which means they do not belong to a 14th Amendment citizen of a state. So, how does a state have any authority to create all these laws, codes, statutes, ordinances? They don't. They don't even have a working 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment functionally doesn't exist for this purpose. Neither does the Ninth. So, when someone says, "I have rights," sorry, you only get the ones that fall under the incorporation doctrine. That's it. You're a citizen of the United States, and this is what you get. Let's go into it. I like this breakdown because it's laid out clearly. First Amendment, fully incorporated. All rights listed in the First Amendment are guaranteed in all 14th Amendment states. If you're a US citizen, you fully have your First Amendment rights. Second Amendment, fully incorporated. Though I question that a bit. Some states make it difficult with permits. You practically need someone chasing you with a gun before a judge will give you a permit. I swear you can't make this stuff up. Third Amendment, not incorporated. This is a big deal. The Third Amendment protects you from having soldiers move into your home and take it over. Let's look at it. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. You think you should have that right? Anyone who knows history knows that before and during the Revolutionary War, soldiers just showed up and took over people's homes. It still happens overseas today. No disrespect to any soldiers watching, I know it happens. But in America, you're supposed to have this right. Sorry, US citizens, you don't. It's not part of the incorporation doctrine. So you have First Amendment rights, you have Second Amendment rights, but you do not have Third Amendment rights. Soldiers can come into your house. Fourth Amendment, fully incorporated. They can't just search and seize you without cause. TSA technically shouldn't be searching everybody who walks onto a plane. I don't know why people let them. You have Fourth Amendment rights, even as a US citizen. Nationals have that right automatically too. Pull out a passport as a national, and they usually just wave you through without a search. Fifth Amendment, partially incorporated. Right to indictment by a grand jury, not incorporated. There's no grand jury requirement. Protection against double jeopardy, incorporated. We've seen that one. Right against self incrimination, incorporated. Shut up. Don't talk to the cops. Don't answer questions. You don't even have to give them your ID if you don't want to. I need your license and registration. Am I under arrest? No. Then can you read me my rights? Can't self incriminate. I'll have to speak to my attorney before going further. He's not available right now. Sorry. Protection against taking property without due compensation, incorporated. So, no right to a grand jury indictment, but you do have the right to stay silent, an important one. Sixth Amendment, right to a speedy trial, incorporated. Right to a public trial, incorporated. Right to an impartial jury, notice of accusations, incorporated. Right to confront hostile witnesses, incorporated. Right to compulsory process to obtain witness testimony, incorporated. Right to a jury selected from residents of the state and district where the crime occurred, not incorporated. You don't have that right. Right to counsel, incorporated. Right to confront favorable witnesses, incorporated. So you get some of these rights, but not all of them. Seventh Amendment, not incorporated. Let's look at it. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. What that's telling you, you don't have common law. Sorry, US citizens, you don't have common law. It's gone. If you don't know what that means, it means you're under statutory regulations, not the Constitution. Only certain parts of the Constitution actually apply to you. Eighth Amendment protection against excessive bail. That's nice. Protection against excessive fines. I'd say that's true in principle, but people get hammered with thousands of dollars in fines over minor vehicle offenses all the time. That's unreasonable and it happens constantly, and people don't even realize their rights around it. Protection against cruel and unusual punishment. Thank goodness. Though being punished harshly for something that didn't hurt anybody is arguably still cruel and unusual punishment for something that's not even really a crime. Reverse incorporation refers to the Supreme Court using case law to fill in gaps when deciding issues it hasn't considered before, essentially using state law to fill gaps in Supreme Court precedent. This doctrine hasn't been used very often. That's pretty much the incorporation doctrine. This is why you don't technically have the right to travel as a US citizen. Technically you do, but you don't. It's argued to fall under the Fifth or Ninth Amendment, but there's no direct incorporation of it. You could theoretically win that argument if you appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, but there's no established right like that on the books currently. So that's pretty much it. This is why US citizens get stepped on, because if you're a US citizen, you're under the 14th Amendment, the states are under the 14th Amendment, and they are not going to grant you all the rights under the Bill of Rights. You only get the ones the Supreme Court has actually ruled on.